Hello and welcome to the Crimson Stitchery, a video channel about making all things beautiful and useful. My name is Anushka. You can find me elsewhere online as the Crimson Stitchery, and links as always can be found in the down bar here below on YouTube. In this week's video, I'm back with a design vlog to tell you guys all about my latest design, the Oregano Socks, which also happens to be the first sock pattern that I have released in 2021. I do have a discount code available for this pattern just for YouTube subscribers, and keep watching till the end of the video to find out what that is. First, here are the photos. We had a lot of fun taking them in the little herb patch that I have in my garden, and a big, huge shout out and thanks to the glorious foot model cum photographer who as always takes my art direction with so much grace, who is my partner and the behind the scenes other half of the Crimson Stitchery. He chooses to remain faceless. I choose to respect that desire, so thank you very much to he. And honestly, I have to say to all of my viewers that so much of what goes on behind the scenes at the Crimson Stitchery really is thanks in no small part to him. And I'm what you get on screen. So the Oregano Socks. Now, if you follow me on Instagram and if you are a newsletter subscriber, you will already have received notice about this brand new design. And if you are one of my wonderful supporters over on Patreon, if you're at the second tier and higher, you'll have received access to this pattern for free. Well, not really free, but as part of your membership benefits. So I hope that you've enjoyed that pattern. And to anyone who has started, I know a few people have actually cast on for this pattern already. And in this video, I'm going to be chatting a lot more about the design process, my inspiration, and how I came about creating this pattern. So as regular viewers will know, over the course of 2021, I've been doing a lot more designing, and I've been also working really hard on developing the Crimson Stitchery into my design house, into my studio practice. A lot of the designing that I've been doing actually is completely unphotogenic. The gorgeous, sumptuous visuals that you see, like the photo shoot and, obviously the videos and stuff that I create are such a small part. And I would say that probably 95% at this stage is me staring sweatily at my computer screen. So that's why this year I'm making the point of recording more design vlogs when I've actually managed to complete a project on their own separately to be able to share much more with you guys about it. So this design project really came about as part of some collaborative efforts that I've been making with the Crimson Stitchery this year. Really, in a large part, since starting the Patreon has allowed me to just have a little bit more income and therefore more freedom and time in order to spend doing all of this necessary behind the scenes stuff, whilst also sharing more of that process with my patrons, both through blog posts, extra features, and also on our Discord server, where we have a lot of really, really nice and supportive chats that, I for one really, really enjoy. The Oregano Socks is a project that I've been working on and off since last winter. Really, since December. I think that I did a vlog about it as part of Vlogmas. Last year, the fabulous Julie of Black Isle Yarns got in touch with me to introduce her company and tell me about the yarns that she produces. It's a really special company based in the Highlands of Scotland, whereby Julie collects, fleeces from local farms and has them processed and spun into yarns for hand knitting. She then actually hand dyes all of the colours as part of her business using plant dyes. So there's so much good stuff that's going on with Black Isle Yarns, and I was so excited to get involved. Killen is a non-superwash, all-natural sock yarn, and it doesn't contain any nylon or polyamide. It's a blend of 80% blue-faced Leicester and 20% mohair. So as you can imagine, I was quite intrigued by this kind of fibre combination, and Julie sent me a couple of hanks to play around with and swatch, and what I discovered was that thanks to the blue-faced Leicester wool, which has got a very, very long staple length, the fabric that it produces is actually very, very light reflective and actually very shiny, as well as having the fuzziness from the mohair, producing this really, dare I say it, rustic textured surface pattern. So it was just such an unusual and definitely very, very special yarn that I was so eager to work with. So I wanted to create a sock design from it foremost. And after spending 2020 doing my warm weather socks collection, which was very, very lacy fitted ribbed socks, I wanted to do something slightly different. And I actually wanted to go for socks which were suited for colder weather. And I really, really wanted to use a cable. Now, just firstly, a heads up, the reason why I've got two samples here, one on the green, which is the Killen sock, and then the other in the cream, is because these two samples are knitted at two different gauges, and the pattern offers directions for both a sport weight sock yarn, which is this green Killen, and a standard fingering 4-ply weight sock yarn, which is this cream. So that's why I've got two samples here. Now, when it comes to the cable pattern, I spent ages looking for a really, really special cable. I didn't just want to go for a basic S-twist cable. And what I found was this really gorgeous rounded cable called an elliptical cable, which I love because of the overall shape. I find it so pleasing and plump. And secondly, it's really interesting because it's actually got this second almost mini cable twist going down the center. So it's got two effects. It's got the outer main twist and then the smaller twist going down the middle. And then in the cream, which is the fingering weight, you can see the cable rib comes out at a slightly different scale. It's obviously much finer due to the different gauge. And I think that this is a really, really special stitch pattern because it offers the knitter and the wearer, might not be the same, person if you knit for gifts or if you are a knitwear lover that has a very, very generous knitter in your life. I love the fact that this actual stitch pattern offers something at two different scales optically, because when you're really, really up close, you can really enjoy all of the detail. But actually then when you step back and look at it a little bit further away, either it's down on your foot because you're wearing it, or you're admiring it from afar, or letting other people admiring your neatly sock clad ankles. Yeah, it just produces a different effect. And I love playing with that visual sense when it comes to knitted fabric and thinking about knitting as an experience, as a sort of sensory experience, as well as the aesthetic visual experience, which might end up being secondary after the act of knitting and creation, but actually hopefully most of the life of a knitted object is going to be as it's worn and actually seen. And then the wearing of the sock is also very, very comfortable because of the rib in the stitch pattern as well. It fits really, really nicely. The socks are just generally very nice and squishy to wear, and because of that really nice rounded cable. I recently enjoyed going on holiday and going for lots of walks by the sea on the cliff top and lots of uneven surfaces. So I was wearing hiking boots for the first time, brand new hiking boots I had to break in because I am a townie. And I found that wearing hand knitted socks was absolutely perfect for that. So even though at the time of release of this video, we're in June, even though it's the summer, there is definitely still place for hand knitted socks in every girl's wardrobe. And also, now that I've joked about that, I will say that as usual, I do design all of my sock patterns to be unisex, So like two of my other sock patterns, which are the red brick socks and the birch ply socks, those I released in 2019 and they're still going strong, and I've seen so many amazing versions of that. So this pattern is released for 2 gauges. You can use, any yarn that you've got hanging around. And they are knit top down, starting from the cuff and following down vertically towards the toe. And as usual, I enjoyed including quite a lot of details on the actual sock. And I'll just draw your attention now to this lovely little ridge of garter stitch and a slip stitch rib on the heel flap too. So just lots of little detail, that I really enjoy including as part of my sock patterns. Now, since the Killen sock is produced in very, very small batches, like many other similar yarns which, come from very small scale producers, the weight of the yarn can vary between batches. And so I'm aware that I knit this sample using a sport weight version of Killen, so slightly heavier, and the newest version of Killen coming up is actually going to be 4-ply weight. So I'm aware that Since the yarn is produced in such small batches and also, you know, being based in the UK, it might not be suitable for everybody in terms of shipping and tax and the horrible B word that I've still managed not to talk about on this channel, even though it's been several years now. You know, that all of that stuff combined can make ordering yarns from the UK prohibitive for overseas customers at the moment, very, very sadly. So I just wanted to briefly talk about yarn substitution. If you want to go for this slick superwash 4-ply fingering, you know, you can just pick a normal superwash sock yarn, something with wool and nylon, and you'll get a very, very, you know, smooth texture. And if you want the hairiness and the, you know, rustic side of things, then do go for a non-superwash treated sock yarn. Just be aware when it comes to wool fibres that you want to go for something that is very tough, ideally with a longer staple length, with high twists that can withstand pressure and abrasion. I wouldn't go for a merino wool when it comes to socks because it's just too fluffy and soft, and you know, all of the properties of something like merino that is like really kind of creamy, almost like cotton wool, is basically not what you want in a sock unless you really enjoy holey socks. So a couple of options that come to mind are tuku wool. They do a sport weight sock yarn that's really nice and hairy and really nice colours, and also John Arbon, I believe, often produces different types of non-superwash sock yarn, and those kind of natural, slightly less processed yarns are going to be giving you this kind of lovely, hairy and lively textured surface in your fabric. Last up, I'll just talk about the name Oregano Socks. Oregano is one of my favourite culinary herbs because it is evergreen. I love growing it in my garden, and it also has medicinal properties and is a wonderful healing herb that can support the immune system. I am not a physician, but I really, really enjoy exploring different types of traditional herbal medicine, especially when they just come from plants that are very easily found and grown around me. So I absolutely love oregano. I love the smell, I love the taste, and I love the fact that it can be used to treat colds and flus. I think it's an absolutely wonderful plant, and I did feel like the rounded leaves of my oregano variety that I have reflected the rounded nature of the elliptical cables that I included on the sock. And yes, I'm aware of North American viewers, we're going to have a little pronunciation party because you guys say oregano, we say oregano, and I'm not going to keep singing that song, but I would love to know if you decide to knit this pattern, or if you've already cast on, what yarn have you used and what colour have you gone for. I always love seeing your versions of my patterns. And I'd also like to add that for all of my patterns, I do create hashtags, and I include those at the end of every pattern on the last page, as well as on the Instagram posts. So you should be able to find those hashtags for each pattern and eventually click on them and see what other people have done with the pattern, as well as obviously the gallery of readers' makes, if you like, on Ravelry, if that is a website that you use. And I'd love to know also, what is your favourite culinary and or medicinal herb? Is it something that you grow in your garden, if you have one, or maybe somewhere in your home? Or is it something that you can only buy or gather in certain places? Let me know what your favourite herb is. I would love to know. I'm always so eager to learn more about herbal medicine, and I love the conversations that we get into in the Crimson Stitchery around this theme. For me, there's a very natural connection between, no pun intended, the healing properties of herbal medicines and the soothing properties of creating and wearing handmade textiles. And that theme is something that I'm continuing to explore. I've got quite a few things brewing at the moment that, again, I can't show you, unfortunately, until I am ready. Although Patreon supporters do get an early glimpse, much earlier, of all of the many things that I've got going on. I've got my fingers in a lot of pies right now, and it's kind of quite a lot, but it will all come together eventually, and I'll let you guys hear about it then. Lastly, is a thank you to you for watching and for supporting the Crimson Stitchery. I have a 20% discount code which will be available for 1 week from when this video goes live here on YouTube. That code is herbal20, all one word, and you can use it at checkout in my Ravelry and PayHip stores. So that's everything for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this little glimpse into how I went about devising and creating the Oregano Socks pattern. I will be back very, very soon with a vlog of everything that I've been making over June 2021. And until then, happy knitting and speak to you soon. Bye.